Do you love going to Broadway shows, but can't go now because Broadway's closed? Join tour guide Tim and Belasco too as they bring Broadway history to you. Grab your Broadway passport for what's in store on your virtual Broadway tour.
When Bring It On, the musical, opened at this week's theater, the St. James, on August 1st, 2012, the cast of cheerleaders tumbled, soared, and leapt high in the air in front of an enthusiastic audience. This moment marked the most Broadway debuts of any one cast, 32. As the opening night's theatergoers made their way to the restrooms at intermission that night, they passed the original marquee sign for George M. Cohan's The Merry Malones, which is still there today. Unbeknownst to most, Bring It On had one key element in common with that 1927 inaugural St. James show: handsprings. The original star of Cohan's show was 56-year-old veteran actor Arthur Deegan. Known for his physical stunts, Deegan was performing a series of handsprings during the final dress rehearsal for the Merry Malones when he suddenly dropped dead on the spot. For the owner of the theater, this ominous beginning would prove hard to overcome, and thus our virtual Broadway tour of the St. James Theater begins. In 1943, the St. James would play host to one of Broadway's most genre-defining musicals, Oklahoma. It's hard to believe now, but when Oklahoma first began performances, the rumors were circling that it was a surefire flop. It was the first collaboration of Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II, and the farm setting hardly seemed interesting to the urban New York audiences. Broadway shows prior to 1943 typically opened with a bevy of beauties wearing extravagant costumes, so you can imagine the perplexed faces in the audience when the curtain rose that night to reveal an old woman sitting on a porch churning butter. But from the moment Curly walked on stage singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning," until the rapturous applause during the curtain call at 11:20 p.m., history was made. On the heels of incredible reviews, the box office at the St. James was pandemonium the next morning. In fact, so many people lined up throughout the day that the Shuberts opened their box offices at the Majestic and the Broadhurst theaters across the street to sell tickets to Oklahoma too. As far as we know, this historic act was repeated only one other time, the morning after the producers opened in 2001, also at the St. James. Rodgers and Hammerstein would have another blockbuster hit at the St. James with The King and I, starring Yul Brynner and Gertrude Lawrence in career-defining roles. While Brynner was only half clothed, Lawrence's dresses weighed upwards of 75 pounds, and at the age of 52, the show required her to dance and walk nearly 4 miles during every performance. 18 months into the run, and 5 months after she won the Tony Award for her performance, Lawrence fainted in her dressing room after a Saturday matinee. Her health continued to fail, and she died a few weeks later. After initially being diagnosed with hepatitis, an autopsy later revealed she had widespread liver and abdominal cancer. Miss Lawrence's funeral was attended by the who's who of Broadway, and over 5,000 people crowded the streets outside. She was buried in her iconic champagne-colored dress, designed by costumer Irene Sheriff and worn during Shall We Dance in Act 2. And to honor her passing, the lights of every Broadway theater were dimmed in her honor, and this was the first time that honor had been bestowed. This beautiful tradition is still carried out after the passing of a theater luminary. The St. James Theater is known as one of Broadway's luckiest. In 1964, another hit musical moved in, Hello, Dolly. First starring Carol Channing, the show played to sold-out audiences every night. When Channing took the show on tour, she was replaced with Ginger Rogers. With her name billed above the title, producer David Merrick knew that audiences would want a refund for any performance which Rogers missed. They would not want to stay to see her understudy, Phoebe Osterwald. Actors Equity Association's original understudy protocol dictated that one notification must be made in the event an understudy performs, either via a note on the lobby placard or a vocal announcement. David Merrick, knowing that audiences weren't familiar with the character names in the show, would announce, "Tonight, the role of Mrs. Levi will be played by Phoebe Osterwald." Audiences, not knowing that Mrs. Levi was in fact Dolly Levi, assumed this was referring to a minor character and stayed for the performance. Once the curtain went up and audiences realized what had happened, they were furious. But at that point, it was too late for a refund. In response to Merrick's trickery, the protocol was officially changed to include 2 notifications, each listing the full character name before an understudy performance, which continues to this day. You guys, happy Saturday noon on Broadway. It is another Saturday. It's our 33rd Saturday together, which is insane, which also means we only have a couple Saturdays left, which is also insane. I can't believe that we've made it this far and that we're almost done with this crazy endeavor. But here we are. Saturday noon on Broadway. Every single week, we're coming to you live with someone who's worked at the theater we're featuring that week. This week, we are joined by the incredible, the most talented woman you may ever meet in your entire life, Alicia Umphris, from American Idiot, On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever. I think she even did some vocals in Bring It On, which was also there, which we'll talk about. She's basically done everything at the St. James and more. So here we are. For those that aren't familiar with me or Broadway Up Close, my name is Tim Dolan. I'm an actor and the owner of Broadway Up Close, where we do tours of the theater district, history, ghost stories, all the things you didn't know that you really want to know about our 41 Broadway theaters. I have an entire team that I call my green team that are all actors and stage managers that are your eyes and your windows to the world. When we started in 2010, it just started with me in a green t-shirt, just telling some stories. And now we have 6 itineraries total. So we have 5 that are exterior tours that take you theater by theater of all of the different theaters geographically. We have of course, our Ghost Light Tour, which is just the haunted theaters. We have our Hamel Tour, which is downtown at the tip of Manhattan. All of the sites of Hamilton, the musical, of course. And then in October of 2019, a dream came true. I got to do my first ever interior Broadway theater tour. So we do tours of the Hudson Theater, which is Broadway's oldest. It's been there 118 years. That, of all of our itineraries, is the only one not currently running because I feel like you've heard Broadway's closed. So we don't have access to that, but all of our exterior tours are still running. We have a whole slew of virtual tours, including some new virtual tours that are brand new that I'm working on now. So check out our website for all of that, BroadwayUpClose.com. And in addition to all of that, we have an entire gift shop in Times Square that is also closed because of COVID-19 with our big Broadway sign. But all of that has been moved online to an e-commerce platform. So feel free to check that out at the end of our time with Alysha. I'll give you a discount code at the end. So stick around and more info on that. March 12th is the day that really kind of the bottom dropped out. It was an insane day. I was the poster child of COVID on Broadway. They posted an article of me next to my Broadway sign and said, "Usher test positive for COVID-19. And it made it look like it was me. It wasn't me. I'm not an usher, but I make a really great photo headline, I guess. So on top of that, and my phone blowing up of all of my friends going, "Are you okay? Do you have COVID? Are you ushering now?" On the heels of that, almost every one of our reservations canceled. All of our tours kind of bottomed out. And I was missing connecting with people, seeing friends in the neighborhood on the way to shows, on the way to auditions. And so we started this. And I said, it'll take us 41 weeks. We'll do 1 theater a week. It'll be insane, but we'll muscle through. And by the time we're done with 41 weeks, Broadway will be reopened. Of course it would be. It will be March of 2021. It would have to be reopened. And now we know, of course, that isn't the case. So here we are. This is week 33, the St. James. I hope you've enjoyed all of our fun facts of history, everything, all the insanity this week. How is this afternoon going to work? For today's series, we'll learn all about Alicia's theatrical journey, her time working on the 8,000 shows she's done at the St. James Theater. If you have any questions for her or me along the way, drop them in the comments. And for those that are watching live, comment as you are. You're already doing, which makes me very happy. Comment where you're watching us from today so we can see where our stories are going on this beautiful, glorious Saturday. And so, are you ready? Without further ado, join me in welcoming Broadway's Alicia Umphris.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, my love. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Happy Saturday noon on Broadway. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, my pleasure.
Before we launch into your life, where are you? Are you still in New York? Are you still moving in and shaking here in the tri-state area?
Yeah, I've left for a couple gigs to the Berkshires for in August and December.
Sure.
But other than that, we've been here the whole time. We have not been on a plane. We have not left the Northeast. Yeah.
Crazy.
Mhm.
Has it been crazy being I left at the very beginning for a couple weeks. What was it like from the moment it starts March 12th to almost a year later? Has it been insanity?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like the first few months were obviously totally different than how it is now because everyone was living in extreme fear and, terrified to leave their apartments, like except to going to the grocery store was like going to battle. But
Sure.
but it was kind of an amazing time too. Like my husband and I and our dog, we would just like kind of go on long walks because nobody was out and about, and we lived right by Central Park, and we would just walk and kind of go everywhere, and we really got to see the city and spend time with each other, and it was actually kind of really nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, scary but nice. And then when obviously it got warmer and a little bit nicer out, things started to pick up, and it's been sort of a busy year, so it's been good. Yeah.
I love that. Well, for those who aren't lucky enough to know everything about you, will you tell us, give us like the bio version of Alicia Umphris before she sets her suitcases down in New York City? So where you grew up, where you went to school, when you first got exposed to theater, when you started doing that, all of that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk about New York.
Okay. I was born in Martinez, California, which is a suburb about 30 miles east of San Francisco.
Okay.
And I grew up out there, and I saw my first show at age 5. It was a children's community theater production of Oliver.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to do this. Like, I thought it was day camp. So I was like, I want to come tomorrow and do it. Like, sign me up. And my mom was like, it doesn't really work like that. I think you have to wait for the next one, which was Annie. I auditioned and I booked the role of the highly coveted role of the pretzel seller. Do you know it?
I'm not familiar. But, sure.
And of course, orphan number 55.
I thought you were going to say, who's the orphan that's like, oh, I'll give you a knuckle sandwich.
Well, we'll get to that. No, we don't have enough time. But I did Annie thrice in my youth.
Sure.
And the first time I was the pretzel seller / orphan number 55.
Well, we all start somewhere.
I was Pepper, which is the little sassy one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then finally, at the last minute, when I was almost too old to play her, I booked Annie. I got to play Annie.
Come on. Or like she's like 8 inches too tall and she's a full-grown adult, but she sounds great.
I mean, it was truly like it was Christmas, I think we did it. And it was the fall before, like, I basically went through puberty. So I passed. I was a little tall, but then what's crazy is that this is already too much. I'm talking too much, but the Bay Area has like a community theater award show called the Shelleys.
Sure.
And it's actually a very chic trophy.
Who is Shelley? Is it like seashell-y or is it?
No, it's like Shelley, like SHELLIE. I think it's named after someone. I forget who. Oh, I know. I think it's because I could be wrong. I could be making this up, but because the center where they would do most of the shows was in Walnut Creek, California, and I think it was the Shelleys because of like walnut shells.
Oh, so it is. So it isn't a woman. It's not like the Tony Awards.
I could be wrong. It could also just be a woman.
This is great. Shelley right now is like, how dare she say it was walnut shells?
I know. I think it is shells though, but the trophy is actually a very chic sort of like
walnut in metal.
No, it's like a harlequin. It's what are those clowns that are
yeah.
Scary. The ones the French ones with like the big collars, and they're like usually bald and they have the like diamonds.
Yeah, like Commedia dell'arte. Like, yeah, sure.
Well, that's what a Shelley looks like. Anyway, I didn't win, but I was nominated, and they asked me to sing tomorrow on the, like they have like representation from all of the shows, and they were like, we want her to sing tomorrow. And I fully had gone through puberty by the time the awards came around, like almost a year later. And so we were like, just one issue is that I had full boobs and was tall, and and so my voice teacher at the time was also the MD for the award show. So he's like, we're going to orchestrate a fabulous, mature, like cool version of tomorrow where you like never say the word tomorrow until the very, very end. It's like blue balls, blue balls, blue balls. Like it's like crazy. And it was actually very chic, and I wore like a gown, and everyone was probably very confused at the telecast at the award show. And that's and I don't know how we got on that tangent. Anyway,
this is how it all started, ladies.
Yeah.
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Okay. This is taking a turn, but it's the best turn that ever. We're now all. Is there photographic evidence of you post puberty? I'm picturing you in like a white long like evening gown with train.
It wasn't that much. It was like a black. I think it was like a black long dress with like flowers. It was very like, you know, early 90s.
Sure. Wow. So it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, basically.
Yes. Okay. So you don't win the Shelley. You're devastated, but you know.
But it was a triumphant performance. So.
Correct. So we all muscle through. Okay. And then where does your career go from there?
Well, so then I went to like normal kids high school for a year, and then I was like, I hate this high school. Like it's so sports oriented, and like there's no theater department really, and what am I doing here? So I auditioned for the like performing arts high school in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I got in. And so I commuted from the East Bay to San Francisco like every morning in commuter traffic for a year, for a year. And then sad, my parents got divorced, and my dad, it's fine. I'm over it now.
My parents just got divorced a couple of years ago, so I'm still not over it. So
I think it's worse. It
is worse. It is. People were like, "Well, you're old now," so I was like, "No, it's worse. I'm right in the middle. This is great."
It's much worse the older you get, I think.
Yep, it's great.
So my dad moved to San Francisco, which was actually kind of nice because then I didn't have to commute.
Yeah.
So I finished high school and lived in San Francisco basically for, junior, senior year. And then I got into the Boston Conservatory for college for musical theater.
Boom.
And then
Boston was like where you wanted to go? Was that it's a long way from San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, most of the like top musical theater schools were all sort of far, at least at that point. I mean, there's so many great programs now, but like back in the ice ages, there was like only the top 5 or 6 were all East Coast or like Midwest to East Coast. But actually, I tell this story a lot, but my first choice was CCM because my same voice teacher, vocal coach who arranged the Tomorrow song was like, oh, CCM is the best program. You're absolutely going, that's your top choice. If you get in there, that's where you're going. And I was like, yes, because he like hung the moon for me, right? So I didn't get in, which I was like crushed about, but Boco was like my second choice, like a strong second. And I got in there and I had friends that went there that really liked it. And Boston obviously is a cooler town than Cincinnati. So I went to Boco, but funny, I guess full circle story though, is like the one time in my life where I had my like major Pretty Woman, big mistake, huge moment.
Yes.
Was when I was doing On the Town on Broadway, and my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, went to CCM. And Aubrey Berg, the like head of the musical theater department at CCM, came to see the show and was like, oh, I'd love to meet your girlfriend. And he was like, oh yeah, come back afterwards. And he like knocks on my dressing room door and he's like, Alysha, this is Aubrey. And I was like, come in, can I get you a drink? It's so nice to meet you. How are you? And he was like, he was very, very kind and had a lot of nice things to say. And then I was like, I actually auditioned for CCM. You were my first choice. I was dying to go there, but I didn't get in. And he like was like, I'm so sorry. Oh my. And I was like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, it worked out. So,
yeah. So it was a good full circle moment.
I love that. Yeah. And those college auditions, it's like in the moment, of course, it feels like your whole life rides on this moment. And the thing in talking to so many people who are successful through these is, some people do get into the incredible, your husband gets into the incredible school and then, it has an incredible career and it works out. But it's just though it's funny how much pressure you put on your life at 18,
Yeah,
I mean, of course you do, because it's like the next step in the development. But looking back now, you're like, oh gosh, we all
Yeah.
need to like settle down. It's all gonna
And
work.
how like everything, I hate to say everything happens for a reason, because like then you have to equate all the horrible things that happen to people. Like that shouldn't, who knows? But
Sure.
at least in my career path, I feel like the way everything sort of, the way that the chips fell, it kind of, I should have gone to Boston. And I think what's funny is one of my best friends from college, he had gone to CCM freshman year. So if I had gotten in, I would have been in class with him.
Yeah.
And he like hated it, and it just wasn't the program for him. And he transferred to BOCO. And so he joined our class sophomore year. And just hearing him talk about the program and like the way that they taught and it just like, I think I would have been, it would not have been right for me. So I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it all works out.
Yeah.
Truly. Okay, so you get to New York, you finish BOCO, you have your showcase, you get an agent, or you don't get an agent, or what? You get an agent.
I got an agent, yeah. And then I decided to stay like a couple months in Boston just because I'd never spent a summer there, and my lease, I had a regular apartment. So I was like, I'm just going to have nothing's going on in the summer in New York anyway. Like, I'm just going to like hang out in Boston for a couple months.
Sure.
And so my agent who had signed me from Showcase was like, where are you going to live when you do move here? I was like, I don't know, whatever. So he set me up with one of his clients' apartment. They were off on the road doing something. And I moved to the city in June or July.
Okay.
And I kind of got myself set up. And then a week later, I walked into Ellen's Stardust Diner and I was like, I want to work here. I'm an audition. And I auditioned and I started there the next week. And I worked at Ellen Stardust Diner on and off for like 3 years.
Okay. You loved it?
I loved it the first year I worked there. I really did. Like, I met amazing friends. It actually was kind of an amazing job because you made a ton of money.
Yeah.
And because the turn and burn plus singers tips, like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then and you were able to pick up and let go of shifts so easily because the idea was that everybody was an actor there. So it's like, oh, I got an audition for tomorrow, take my shift. So it was always easy to get rid of and pick up shifts. And you got to sing every day, which like kept your instrument healthy. And also, this is my favorite part about Ellen's, is that even though it is in like the touristy, trappy part of Times Square and Midtown, you never ran into anyone you knew because nobody but tourists go in there.
Right.
So it was actually like if I was working at Joe Allen, I'd be like, oh, hi, Bernie Telsey. Hi, Jordan Roth. Like you'd be waiting on all of these people.
Yeah.
And at Ellen's, you never ran into anyone. So it was actually, you had a lot of anonymity, like working there.
Yeah.
There were also a lot of terrible things about working there too. But,
I can only imagine.
And they started to wear as the years, went by. But the first year I had a blast. I loved it. Yeah. And then, and I booked some regional stuff and like I would go, and if you were in good standing, they'd let you come back and
sure,
have your shifts back and whatever. And then I booked an off-Broadway musical. It was a William Finn review called Make Me a Song. It was
gosh, you did. I saw you in that.
You did?
Yeah, you were so good in that.
Are you sure you saw me in that? I was a swing. I only went on once.
Oh, then maybe I didn't.
Thank you, Tim.
You were so great.
Thank you.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been there the one night I was on.
No, I didn't see you because you probably covered Sally Wilford. Was she in it? Yeah. You both have, to me, similar, like beautiful, smooth. I feel like you guys have similar energy. Maybe I would think maybe.
I stand her. She's so amazing.
Oh, yes. And the voice it's just that perfect top to bottom. You can't ever tell. There's no imperfections.
My voice is not like that, but hers is like, it's just like where is the break?
Uh-huh.
I challenge you to show me a break. There is no break.
Correct.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't see you in that, but I saw that.
I made hats in the basement mostly.
Great. Yes. Yeah. That was great. And that's your first. I mean, and that was pretty. Who else was in that? Adam Heller.
Adam Heller, DB Bonds, and Sandy Binion. So I actually covered both of the women. We could be here all day, but that was the craziest audition story I had done. I got my equity card like the summer before at Barrington Stage doing a little Kirsten Childs musical called Funked Up Fairy Tales.
Oh, sure.
Funk. And it was so cute and so fun. And Bill Finn had, was very active at Barrington and he loved me from that. And so they were casting the swing for this. And, I was like 24 25. I don't know. And, you know, Sally's a little bit closer to my age, but Sandy was a full, you know, 25 years older than me.
Yeah.
So when they were having auditions for the swing, like I didn't even pursue it, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm like cleaning out my closet one day. I'm living in the West Village and with my friend Ben, who was at CCM and then he transferred.
Sure.
And I get a call from my agent who's like, hey, they want you to come in today for Make Me a Song. And I was like, okay, but I'm like not really right for it. And what? And they were like, they asked for you. Can you go to Ripley Greer now and just like sing whatever? It doesn't have to be a William Finn song. Just sing whatever you have in your book. And I was like, okay. So I put some clothes on and I go to Pearl or wherever it was. And I sing a Lou Rawls song.
Sure.
They're very in the vein. And they were like, okay, oh, Alicia, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, no way. So then like a week goes by and they're like, hey, you got a call back for Make Me a Song. And I was like, I did? Okay. They're like, it's this date. And I was like, I'm going to be home. I'm going to be in Napa. I'm going to like, I'd already had and I was like, I'm not going to book this part. So like, you can just tell them thank you, but I'm out of town. So I'm wine tasting with my mom in Napa, cut like 2-3 weeks later or whatever. And we're like having lunch and I get a call from my agent and they're like, hey, you're not going to believe this, but you booked Make Me a Song. And I was like, what?
I'm sorry. What?
What? Yeah, exactly. Have I had too much wine?
Correct.
Yeah, they just couldn't really find anyone that they loved. And I think Bill Finn, God love him, he's just such a curmudgeon. He's like, just cast Alicia, she'll be great. You know, and like, and so I booked it.
Makes great hats.
Makes great hats. But of course, to like save money, because it was, you know, a small show with a small budget, like they didn't have me come to rehearsals because it's kind of like, it's mostly sung and then the staging will be like fairly easy. So I didn't start until tech.
Wow.
So I show up at New World Stages on like tech day and I'm going down the stairs and I run into the director and I was like, oh, hi, Rob, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited. And he was like, oh, right. You're the swing. Yeah. Bill says you'll be great. So I guess. And I was like, okay.
Oh God.
You'll be here.
Oh, great.
No, but he's lovely. It's just like, I think he was just kind of like, I didn't really cast. We could, sure, whatever. And I only went on one. I went on for Sally and it was, you know, that's another crazy story, but we don't have time for that. Anyway.
Wow. Okay. And do you feel in this moment with that warm, lukewarm reception, does it feel like that's the first moment of, I'm always intrigued by like the first moment where you're like, oh, this is a pretty big job, or does it feel like that's the first moment that you start to be, you know, put you on the map, or is that American Idiot Broadway debut that you're like, I'm arrived, here I am?
I think that was it. I think this was like a really exciting, like, you know, because I had done like an all student run production of falsettos in high school, really had a grasp on the material. So I was obviously obsessed with him and his, you know, so I was just like, I get to potentially sing Trina stuff off Broadway on a stage if I ever go on. So like, I think just that was so exciting. And I looked up to the cast was so amazing. And so I was stoked, you know, I was also like stoked to not be working at Ellen's. Do you know what I mean? So it was, it was great. But I think American Idiot was the like big, okay.
The moment. Yeah. I've arrived. Here I am. We have a question about Ellen Stardust while we're here. Was the restaurant a supportive environment? Are you still in contact with some? Did you get any advice while you worked there that you still carry till today?
I think that the wait staff within Ellen's was a supportive environment for the most part. There's always going to be some friction and some bad eggs, but like, I would say everyone was super supportive and I made some lifelong friends there that, I'm definitely still in touch with. And also let me say that like, I've heard some of the most amazing voices in my time working there, like voices better than voice leads on Broadway that like, for whatever reason, never made it, never got their big Broadway break. And you're just like, for what, you know, which just goes to show you that a lot of it is luck and a lot of it is, it doesn't, you know, that's a
timing and right show and all of that.
Yeah. Cause there was unbelievable talent that worked there. As far, and then there was a manager, Scott Barbarino, who still works there, who's really supportive. And like, he was a champion for, the talent and, you know, but I'd say otherwise the managerial and owners were not great.
It's I can imagine it's a tricky, I'm not certainly not siding with them, but it's got to be a tricky thing to have a business that is off of people whose main goal is to not work there. I think any restaurant in New York, it's a tricky. You're hiring staff that are charismatic and actors and great, knowing that they're like, the moment I get something, I'm out of here, and
Yeah.
So I think that's a tricky. You want employees, like my employees. You're like, it's the same. I want you to be really incredible tour guides, but I also want you to go do shows. So go book shows.
Yeah.
And I'm, it breaks my heart that you're going to be gone for a year, but I'll figure it out. This is why we're here. But you have to navigate that managerial is really fun. It's really great.
Also, it's so exciting to see the people that you'd be working with one day, and then they'd be like, I booked a Broadway show. And then you're like, you're the lead in Avenue Q. Oh my God. You know what I mean? So it was like really encouraging. It was actually good to work there because you'd see people booking Broadway shows and you'd be like, wow, I can absolutely do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So American Idiot. So how did you get involved? Did you just go to an open call? Broadway? Do you remember all of that? Tell us everything.
Yeah, I had an agent appointment. But it was like a pre-screen for I think it was for Carrie. Why am I blanking on her name right now? Yes, Carrie Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Back when she was like under Jim Carnahan. And so it was like a pre-screen for Carrie. And I sang What About Love? Hearts, What About Love?
Sure.
And like a couple days, week go by, and they're like, okay, you have a call back for the team. And I was like, okay, great. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting, which was what I was saying about like, would my career have gone in this direction had I gone to CCM? It's interesting the paths that you take. So I had been doing readings, like very informal readings of On a Clear Day before American Idiot, because that version of On a Clear Day had been kicking around for like ever, like since 2000. Like
Noni Rose, right?
Luca was after, but like Laura Benanti had done it at one point. Like they had so many people do readings, and it had been like the idea to change it. And so Michael Mayer's assistant, Austin Reagan, who's a wonderful director now, he went to BOCO, and right out of college, he started interning at Bernie Telsey. So he was a casting associate. So I'd kind of seen him at Telsey a couple times. And then he started working as Michael's assistant. And I get a call from him out of the blue one day. And he's like, hey, Alicia, I don't know if you remember me. I'm Austin Reagan. And I was like, yes, of course I remember you. And he's like, so I'm Michael Mayer's assistant. And we were talking, and he's working on this very like, hush hush project of a revival. And we really need a jazz singer. And he was asking me if I knew anybody. And I know you sing jazz so well. And would you want to do this? You can't really talk about it. It's not a lot of money, but Michael Mayer's directing it. And I was like, yes. Obviously. And you're like, thank you. So I did like 3 or 4 readings, demos, like incarnations of that. So that was the exact same team for the most part as American Idiot. It was the same producerial team, like design team, same pretty much. So I knew Michael and Tom Holtz and Ira Pittleman from like incarnations of that, although it was a totally different vibe. Obviously I was playing like a 40s jazz singer and not a punk rock,
Right.
Yeah. So it's hard to say when I went in for the audition for them, like obviously I knew everybody behind the table, but they knew me in a completely different
vein.
Yes. So I had to prove myself, obviously. And they were like, oh, we didn't know you sang like rock. And like, I was like, well, we'll see. So I definitely worked my ass off for that audition and had to come to the callbacks, the same as everybody else, which was wild. We all had to pick. This is one like the wildest audition stories for the original like American Idiot auditions. You had to pick like a Ginsberg or Bukowski like Americana poem and just memorize it and do whatever you wanted with it. So I did America, that sort of famous poem.
Yeah.
And I just went balls to the wall, like opening up windows at Chelsea Studios, like screaming out into the hall. I opened the door and I was like, like scream. I mean, because I was like, I went up to the table and I like went right into their faces and booked it, bitch.
Oh my gosh.
But they're going to go so well or
they're going to go, this won't get her out. Please call security. Well, I'm glad it ended how it ended.
Me too.
And then first performance at the St. James, one of the most iconic Broadway theaters. You've arrived. Is it insane? Tell me everything.
It was, well, what's interesting is that there were like 5 or 6 Broadway debuts, maybe 7 in that show.
Yeah.
And everybody that had already been in a Broadway show, because Berkeley was crazy. We were partying with Green Day every night. We were like at their recording studio. We were at their house. Like Berkeley was insane. I'm also from there. So like I got to be home and see all my family and my friends. And it was truly like, we were the tightest cast. It was nuts. And then we got to perform on the Grammys before we even started rehearsals for Broadway.
Yep.
So like in February or January of 2010, we all got on a plane and got to like perform on the Grammys with Green Day. So that was crazy. And then we hadn't even started yet. So it was just like adrenaline, and everything we did was so cool. And everybody that was in the show that had already done a Broadway show were like, so you know that like no other Broadway show will ever be like this again. Like this is a completely unique, like singular experience. Yeah. So just like, I know you're cherishing it, but because it's your first one, I don't want you to feel like
this is how it is.
And like, boy, were they right. I mean, no tea, no shade on a clear day, but like, it was just not to to bypass American Idiot, because I could talk about it for hours, but just interesting that because the next Broadway show I did was like right after, and it was Clear Day, and it was with the same team pretty much in the same theater. And it was a night and day experience to American Idiot. It was just like, it was like almost like being in the Twilight Zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my time on Clear Day. I'm not trashing it at all, but it was just like nothing like American Idiot.
And it's because what do you think is with so many elements being the same, down to the theater, down to the creative team, you've worked with them before. What's the defining difference? Is it the material?
The material, I think the cast, because we were all so like young and like misfits, and we were such a family, and we were all obsessed with each other. I mean, I feel like I've never been in a show where I've made so many lifelong, I mean, truly some of my like 4 or 5 of my best friends still are from American Idiot. And like the older you get, the more shows you get. You're lucky if you keep one. You're friends with everybody and you love your experience, but like keeping I call them lifers.
Yeah.
They're just, it's not as common. And with that show, it really was, we were so tight knit, and it was, I don't know if it was my age, cause I was really young, and this show was just so fun, but like we literally were obsessed with each other. Like now I do a show and I'm like, can't wait for the show to be over so I can go hang out with my husband or see my friends afterwards, or like go back to my real life, even though I love performing. And that show was like, what are we doing after? What are we doing this weekend? What are we doing on our day off? Like all we did was hang out with one another. We were obsessed with each other. And that was just,
it's rare.
We were obsessed with the show, and we were obsessed with Green Day, and it just was the best experience of my, it truly was the like best experience.
That's incredible. Someone wrote in a question on Instagram about American Idiot. They said, this is Sirenita _ says, did you all know how to play the guitar before you got the job? I love that moment.
Lol, absolute. Some very proficient. It was a sliding scale of proficiency in guitar. No, if you gave me a guitar right now and said, play Good Riddance, I'd be like, I can probably play 1 chord. And if you'll notice, if you saw it or saw any clips of it, there's some people that are mic'd in Good Riddance on their guitar, and there's people that are not mic'd. And I'm obviously a not mic'd. I mean, I played it. I knew it's only 4 chords, right? Like Green Day famously are like, we're always just like 4 chords. But I wouldn't have wanted to do it alone. Let's just say that.
Great. Really great.
So no, we did not all know how to play guitar before.
Oh gosh. Okay, the St. James Theater, because you worked there twice. And did I make that up? Did you do the cross the line vocals and Bring It On? I'm not lying, right?
No, I did. What Legendary? We came out raising. Yeah. And I did all the female voiceover work in the show. So I was like, if you'd like to leave a message, press 5. Or I'm like the principal over the loudspeaker when I'm like, listen, clap, blah, blah, blah. Like it's
really.
Yeah. So I got the full credit. I got paid like I was on Broadway, and I got like to go to opening night. I remember getting all of these opening night gifts, and like the production office was like, come pick up all of your stuff. And I was like, what stuff? And they were like, all of your like design, you know, because everybody on opening night, like the set designer just looks at a sheet and they're like, okay, who do I need to get gifts for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't know I wasn't in the show or whatever. So I had all of these opening night gifts and I was like, LOL, I'm not in the show, but I'll take it.
Sure. And did you get like health insurance weeks?
No,
Okay.
I don't. I might have gotten like.
I think you might have. And I only say that I don't know the answer, but Brett Shuford and Stephanie Gibson did the Dreamgirls tour, but they just did a video like "Buy Me a Cadillac," and they didn't in that production. They didn't have the white people in the background in a hat. They just recorded them and whatever. Yeah. But I remember Stephanie, I think, saying, "Yeah, I think I got insurance for a year and I got paid weekly." Even though just the
then I might have. I probably did. That's so. I just remember it being like the cushest job I ever had, and I only saw it once. I saw opening night and was like, "This is great."
Yeah, I feel great. Hilarious. It was. That's hilarious. Okay, so then St. James Theater, because you spend so much time there, do you favorite things, quirky things about the building? Is it of all the theaters you worked at on Broadway or in general? Does it stick out to you as memorable, or do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just by default, it's always going to feel like home, you know, because I've done two and a, I don't know what you'd call that, two and a bonus there. And I mean, I just love all of, you know, T-Mac and T-Mac Jr., like all the guys who work there, all the Carps and Russ who works the stage door. Like they're just all, you know, good guys and they've worked there forever. And it's got so much history. It's just like to think like the original Oklahoma was here. What? Like it's so, I don't know. It's a piece of history. I mean, all of the Broadway theaters are historical, but
this one is especially iconic.
Yeah, it's especially iconic. And I mean, because the Palace is cool too, but it's kind of an annoying one to get to, especially if you are coming from, you know, the West Side, just because you have to get by the TKTS and it's like such it was a different experience. Yeah. And the lyrics
you do in the Palace was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I would say just for convenience factor, the Palace was my least favorite.
Sure.
But it's so cool. And it has so much history too. And it's like, I love the elevator there, which is so old school. And they had the girl running the elevator. So like you'd literally, because my dressing room was on the 5th or something. And mostly you just have to hoof it up the stairs.
Right.
But the Palace has its own elevator operator and like one of those old ones where she closes it and she works the entire show. So you'll be like, all right, I finished, you know, whatever. I have 20 minutes before my next entrance. Like, take me up. Yeah. So that's really cool about the Palace.
Yeah, that's rare. I feel like that's
so rare. I don't know if
maybe the Neil Simon has something for the offices above, but I don't know if the guy is there all show.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be the only one.
Yeah, perhaps. Interesting.
And I love the lyric because it was new and big and nice. I mean, it didn't have the like dirty, moldy charm of the older shit where you're like, I might die from black mold. It definitely felt cleaner and nicer, but it was just like everyone was on the same level. It was comfortable. Yeah. The rooms were big. It was like love. It was lovely. It was super convenient. It's right by the subway. I mean,
and it seems On the Town started at Barrington, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it feels like you have an affinity, or Barrington has an affinity for Alicia Umphris. It has that from the moment you did that first funked up fairy tales. Was that's where it all starts, and then they just love you, and it's Bill Finn, and it just the love affair never ended.
Yeah, Barrington is an exceptional company. It's like I've worked there. I was actually just made an associate artist last month. Yes, which is exciting. Thank you. So it does feel like, you know, it feels like my sort of summer stock home. It's not summer stock. It's a full regional theater, but like my summer home kind of, because mostly they do. But I worked there twice even in the pandemic. Like Julie Boyd really was like, this pandemic will not get us down. And I went up there in August and did a Rodgers and Hammerstein concert, you know, 4 other actors. And we did 6 feet apart in all the staging. And the audience was 25 feet back in a tent they built outside. Everyone wore masks. We got tested once a week, and it was crazy. And then we did a Christmas streaming concert with Joel Wagner and Alan Green, who are geniuses, and we came up with that. And Julie Boyd let us do that, and that was sort of Alan's idea. So they're just very it's just a great theater company. They're doing innovative, cool stuff mixed with like favorites that everybody, you know, there's always like a big musical will sell the tickets. Do you know what I mean? But it affords them to be able to do new works and showcase new writers. And yeah, I love it there. And it very much feels like a family.
This Tom LaCourte, Tom, who we love, he sees a lot of shows at Barrington, but he says this Barrington subscriber definitely has an affinity for Alicia, and congrats on your appointment as an associate artist. On the follow-up of that, Mary says, what does artist associate mean? What is an associate artist?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that there's not an official blurb about what an associate artist is, but I think the idea is that you, they listen to, you have input, like you're on all of the company. Anytime there's a press release about what's going on, you're just sort of like in the world, in the loop. They they want your opinions. They'll send you, if they produce anything, they'll be like, here, like I know that they sent all the associate artists our Christmas show and we're like, please watch it. And they listen to you if you have suggestions. So like, if I'm like, hey, Julie Boyd, I would love to do, you know, Whoosy Watsy.
Yeah, I love that show.
Then she'll seriously like take it into consideration, and they like listen to you. Essentially, like they value your opinion, they respect you artistically, they've worked with you enough to like that you have a relationship. And so I think it's just kind of it's an honor, but I've already thrown some things Julie Boyd's way, and one of them she's really into. So I know she's pitched it to a director who's also interested in it. So maybe we'll get to do it as soon as theater opens up again, maybe we'll get to do it. So yeah, it's so cool thing.
You, and I don't know when it was shared. I missed the first sharing of this, but I'm last maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm making ornaments because that's my life now. And I'm making ornaments and I got an Instagram up and I'm looking at stories and someone shared you singing No One Is Alone from one of these shows at Barrington, I think. Yes.
No, that was actually a Goodspeed opera gala.
Ah, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. So I see this and I'm like, oh, Alicia Umphris, sure. Oh, Sondheim, sure. Oh, I love this song. Okay. Your rendition of that is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And I watched it 3 times in a row, which we see so much stuff that you're like, on to the next. I was like, I'm ornament in hand. I cried. The first time I cried. I mean, it's so honest and it's so just your Alicia Umphris isms that are, with the work of someone who it's Stephen Sondheim, right? It's just, you just don't mess with it. And so, and I don't think you did, but you put your spin on it. And it's so, it was to me so of the moment. To me, you feel like an artist who, even in a pandemic, we've been seeing a lot of things of you and you're active in Barrington. And it has really been nice to see someone kind of, I don't know, we could say thriving in a pandemic, but navigating her way through. And this to me, knowing you, felt like the culmination of you as an artist and you in a pandemic. And I watched it 3 times. And I just have to say it. I think I texted you and I think I said you're a star or something. But it really is. With something like that, was it your idea to sing it? Is it your interpretation? Tell us, how does something get to that moment as an artist? And then everyone who's watching, if you don't immediately finish this and go watch it, you can all just never come back. So go do that.
Oh, built it up. That's a lot of pressure. That's so sweet. That really means a lot to me. It was actually, no, they chose it. They were like, would you like to do our gala? We're going to feature, different performers in different parts of the opera house, in the bar and the balcony. And we really want to do yours in the balcony, I think. And I had sort of thrown out some suggestions of just like stuff I know or stuff I think. And they were like, okay, these are good suggestions. We'll get back to you. And then they emailed back and they were like, we'd really love for you to sing No One Is Alone. And I was like, great. I've never sung it before. I've always wanted to do Into the Woods. I mean, I did it in high school, but like, it's one of my favorite shows. And Adam Souza, who's now the new resident MD there, he just took over from Michael O'Flaherty, maybe last year. Okay. He's one of my good friends from college. He grew up in Killingworth, Connecticut, and he's worked at the Goodspeed for years. And so this is like a very like full circle destined job for him. And he was like, well, why don't we just I'll kind of come up with a scratch arrangement and you just come over to my house like the day before. And we basically just put that together the day before we filmed it. Not to be like, but I mean, and so And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I do about staying true, and you don't want to mess with Sondheim too much. And I was very, very cognizant of that. And I didn't want it to be like a riff fest, or like, how can I make this different and my own? I just inherently was like, and we did, I just kind of did it the way that I did it. And we did it differently every time, because I think all of the stuff that they had filmed, a lot of it had dance included into it. So only me and James Snyder, I think, were live. Everybody else was pre-recorded, and then lip sync to it. And so we did it like 8 times, I think, because I'm also a crazy perfectionist. Like, I'm like, I'll go all day. We got the time. I'll do it 10 more times. Like, let's do it. Yeah. So I'm just saying it like 8 times in a row. And I think it was kind of different every time, because when it's live, you can't cut and paste.
Right.
So it's like, it had to be just like a full take. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see all the other takes, but I was assured that this was the best take. And I think there's one little moment where I'm like, that was better and blah, blah, blah. But like, for the most part, I'm really happy with it. And it's also.
How does someone watch it? I just realized I saw it on Insta story. Mary says, where can we watch this?
You can go to my Instagram, and it's on my IGTV. It's probably like the 5th or 6th post down. I'm wearing like a floral sort of.
She's in a balcony. Yeah.
I'm in a balcony. Yeah. If you go to my Instagram handle is just my name, Alicia Umphris, and it should be right on the grid.
There we are. Alicia Umphris. There we are. It's I think when you are successful like you are, it's fun. And having the luxury of knowing you, it's been fun. It seems that you have defied this. Your shows don't ever seem to be the same. Like you go from doing 40s jazz to American Idiot to Sondheim interpretations to jazz, revival where you take over the world on the town. Is that on purpose? Do you feel like there's something about you? Your agent is really aggressive about not pigeonholing. Is it a strategy? Is it just how it worked out?
I think it's just how it worked out, but I also think it's a combination of like, why I don't get a lot of jobs also is that I think that people don't know what to do with me in a lot of situations, because I don't sort of fit into, especially in the Broadway world, I don't fit into like a specific box, type-wise, look-wise, voice-wise. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of times people are like, because, we know in this business, it's very, very, very easy to get pigeonholed. Mm-hmm. Like my dream is to do like a legit, R&H show at Lincoln Center. Do you know what I mean? And like, I feel like I never get auditions for those. I don't think I've been in for a legit show at Lincoln Center ever in my career. It's like all I want. So, I think because I'm not a specific, like, oh, she's that. People are more willing to be like, oh, you never know. Maybe, we'll see her for that. And then, so I'm able to like, I don't know. That's a really good question that, but no, I think the only thing that I would say is I have gotten pickier as the older that I've gotten, as far as like looking at material. If my agent sends me this, like, look it over, tell me what you think, and being like, this doesn't challenge me, or this doesn't do anything that I haven't done before, or it's lazy, or it's like an archetype that I'm just like not interested in telling that story. And I think I think for me, it's more just being able to be like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Caitlin has a question that I've never really even thought about, so we're going to ask it. It's a little left field in this moment, but I think it's a great question. She says, have you ever gone back to see another production at a theater you performed at, and how has your perspective changed from sitting in the audience to being center stage?
I think that's a great question. I think the familiarity of it and just being like, wow, I spent so many note sessions sitting in this seat. Now I'm watching a totally different production. I think what's so cool about it is that it's just theater is so transformative and transportive that like, even though if I go to see a show at the St. James, like, yes, it's familiar. Yes, I know what backstage looks like in my mind's eye, but it's still like a totally different new experience, because that's what theater is. It hopefully transports you to another place. And that's what's so cool about it. But I think it's like, for a while, I don't know now, but like for a while, if I went to the St. James, I knew a lot of the people that worked at the bar or like the ushers. And so they'd be like, oh, we'll get you better seats. Like if I had Rush, or, I was in the mezz, they'd be like, hold, we'll get you. Or like, here's a drink ticket, get something at intermission. It's nice to get those like little perks, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's just always feels like you're kind of coming home, but it's always exciting because you're seeing something, a totally different thing, you know?
In space. Okay, here, Tom has one thought, and this isn't always my favorite question because, well, it's not always my favorite question, but I love his ending to it, and I love Tom. Tom, I'm not part of your question. Here we are. Hi, Alicia. Always love to watch you perform. What are some of your dream roles? I mentioned this because City of Angels, is that a thing? And if that is revived, if you aren't in that singing that role that sings all of those songs, then we've done something wrong, I think.
Tom, I feel like I've told this to Tom maybe, but hi, Tom. Tom is so sweet and lovely. It is one of my dream roles. It is a dream show that's like so cool and has such an amazing score and doesn't ever really get done. What's crazy is that I was set to go to, when did everything shut down? Like the March 12th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was
burned in my brain.
Burned in your brain. And that was the Friday, right?
That was Thursday.
Oh, right. I was supposed to go see Flying Over Sunset.
Yep.
First preview. Never again.
No.
And so the following Friday, I had tickets to see City of Angels in London, in the West End, because I was stopping in London for a few days because then I was en route to go do Wonderful Town with the symphony in Italy.
Yep.
In Italy, where it like was really bad.
I didn't even think about that. You were like, this sounds great. This is definitely great. Why?
Exactly. Why? But like every day I'd be in talking to my liaison there being like, this is going to get canceled, no? And he was like, oh no, it's in Northern Italy. We'll be fine. We'll be in Southern Italy. It's not bad down there. And I was like, okay. And then every day I was like, had to go to the consulate to get my visa. And I was like, should I really be busting my ass and like paying all these visa fees, like, to do this? Like, this is going to get canceled. He was like, no, it'll be fine. Murphy's Law. As soon as I spent a whole day at the consulate, finally booked all of my flights, like waited till the very last minute. The next day, he's like, it's canceled, I'm afraid. And I was like, oh, you're afraid?
Yeah, are you?
It is. Really, Rose? I mean, so, but because it wasn't as bad in London as it was in Italy, like they weren't refunding tickets. So I also just ate those tickets, which sucks. But, I was supposed to see it and I was so excited to go see it in the West End, but wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I'm dying to do it. I would love to do it. But like, that's the scary, this is why this business is like maddening, because like when there is something that you're like, I'm perfect for this, I have to be in this, then it's like you put so much pressure on it that like if you go to audition, then it's like they'll be like, that's the show you won't get, or they'll cast a celebrity or whatever. And it's like, so I don't know. I shudder to think if it does come to Broadway. I mean, but it would be a dream. I would love to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna hope it happens. We're gonna put it out in the world that you'd be better than Idina Menzel. That's what we're gonna.
Gabby Bobby. She'd be better as that part.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Great. There. It's all.
That's the thing. There's so many good parts in it. It's crazy. Like so many amazing women's parts. But
there, it's been decided. You and Idina, you're going to be so great in that. It's going to be really great. Your dream. It's so from the bottom of my heart. It's so nice to see wonderful, nice people succeed, and you and your husband. Her husband, Cody, I understudied years ago on this production of Singing in the Rain, and now he's taking over the world and producing in video. He's taking over the world. So it's fun. It's always fun to watch the two of you take over the world together, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. So thank you for spending a little chunk of your Saturday with us. I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. Also, there's so many amazing stories from that production of Singing in the Rain. Like,
yes, we could do
we should have him on just to talk about that production. I mean,
yeah, we could do an entire hour on just Westchester Broadway's production of Singing in the Rain, starring Cody Williams and Tim Dolan as a vocal coach, but we won't. We will not. Instagram is the best way we should follow you.
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Oh yeah, because right now my Facebook got hacked and I can't get in. So if you're friends with me on Facebook and there's any fishy, I don't know what to do. I'm a little concerned, but
Yeah, I've got nothing. Technology and I know nothing.
Yeah.
Dear Dream, thank you so much. Good luck with everything. Tell my love to Cody, and can't wait to be bumping into you guys into Times Square again, like normal on the other side.
I can't wait for that. I never have I ever said I can't wait to go to Times Square, but like I really can't.
Yeah, that's the one great thing about the pandemic. You're we're gonna enjoy Times Square again, and I'll be ready there with open arms. You're a dream. Thank you so much.
Bye, Tim.
Bye. You can see it's she's just a real human, and it's getting to know this real human has been one of the great joys of this business. It's the business has the highs are highs, the lows are lows. It's an insane business. But you meet these creative artists, and when I say this song of her interpretation of "No One Is Alone," to me, it just encapsulated this moment and our industry, and it's really poignant. And I hope you all get to see it. And I hope you got to see a little window into the incredible woman that is Alicia Umphris, and of course, we all see the incredible performer, and we see the golden voice. But it's always nice, I think, to see in these moments the human behind the golden voice that gets you to that 8 p.m. curtain. So I hope you've had a great time. You had really great questions today. I know we didn't get to all of them, but we got to as many as we could, and I love you for that. This is insane that we're 33 weeks in. I'll never really fully be able to wrap my mind around the insanity of this moment, but the fact that you keep coming back and keep showing up, and we're just going to keep hanging out with cool artists and telling some weird stories every week until we're on the other side of this, back in Times Square. And whether you hate or love Times Square, you're going to love it for like at least a couple minutes when you get back until you hate it again. And I will be there ready to receive you all with open arms, and bring some dollars and go to our gift shop and like buy a tote bag. I don't know. Our gift shop, all of it, as I say, e-commerce is the name of the game these days, which is BroadwayUpClose.com/souvenirs. Everything handmade. We have some new, really interesting, well, I think it's interesting, new stuff that I'm working and developing now that will be released over the next, I don't know, let's say the next 2 weeks, if I can get my life together, but some really cool projects, some new stuff that I hope you love. Should you be interested, as always, my followers here, you can get Broadway 10 as your discount code. You get 10% off any of your purchases there. And then social media, of course, is where we thrive these days. And so Instagram at Broadway Up Close, Facebook, Broadway Up Close walking tours is where you can find. And then always more info on our tours, in-person tours, virtual tours, all of that, BroadwayUpClose.com. If you've been following along, you know my tagline. You know what I say to myself every single morning with this little French bulldog who's passed out next to me. I look the little guy in the eye, and I say, we're one day closer to Broadway. Who knows when it's coming back, but we know that we're officially one day closer. And so I encourage you, it really helps set your day with an intention of a little optimism in the insanity of our lives. And so I encourage you to use that, because I think it's going to get us through. So we are officially one day closer to Broadway. I love you all. We'll see you again on Monday for week 34. Insanity. I love you all. Happy Saturday. Thank you for spending your time with us. And we'll see you again soon.